Twelfth Night. Reading from the back of the book. Twelfth Night. It's Twelfth Night, and time for a comic tale of mismatched lovers and mischief. Duke Orsino loves Olivia. Olivia loves the Duke's servant, and the servant loves the Duke. How will they all live happily ever after? The characters: Viola, a young noblewoman, a sea captain; Sebastian, Viola's twin brother; Antonio, a sailor; Duke Orsino, ruler of Olivia; Lady Olivia Marvaglio, Olivia's steward; Sir Toby Birch, Olivia's uncle; Sir Andrew Agutric, Sir Toby's friend; Maria Olivier, Olivia's maid; Feste, Olivia's jester. About the story. This story is based on a famous play written by William Shakespeare 400 years ago. Back then, people used to celebrate Christmas over 12 days, finishing with a feast on the 12th night. This play would have been staged at that feast. A love story full of comic twists and turns. It was perfect entertainment. When you see lines written like this, it means they are Shakespeare's original words. Contents: Chapter 1, Shipwreck. Chapter 2, Fools and Lovers. Chapter 3, Making Mischief. Chapter 4, Another Survivor. Chapter 5, More Mix-ups. Chapter 6, Happy Ever After. Chapter 1, Shipwreck. Viola struggled ashore, her dress soaking. All around were breaking waves and broken bits of wood, the remains of the ship she and her brother had been on. "Sebastian!" she called desperately, but her beloved twin did not answer. "He's not here," came a gruff voice. It was the ship's captain, "but I saw him clinging to the wreckage, so he may have survived." Viola blinked back her tears. "Where are we?" she asked. "Olivia," replied the captain. Duke Orsino's country." "What can I do now?" wondered Viola. "Perhaps the Duke will give me a job, but he is more likely to hire a man. I know. I'll dress up as a boy and call myself Cesario." With the captain's help, she was soon on her way. At his palace, Duke Orsino was listening to love songs and dreaming about Lady Olivia. He was hopelessly in love with her, but she had refused to see him since her brother, the Count, had died. "What a heart," thought the Duke, "to love a brother so much. Oh, if I could only make her love me. I need a messenger," he decided, "someone she won't refuse to see." Just then Viola came in dressed as Cesario and asked for a job. Orsino took one look at his friendly face and hired him on the spot. Orsino spent the next 3 days telling his new servant Cesario all about Olivia and how much he loved her. Viola's heart melted as she listened. How could any woman refuse such a man? She wondered. "Now, Cesario, will you go and see Olivia for me?" said the Duke at last. "She's bound to listen to you." Viola bit her lip and nodded. She thought her heart would break. In just 3 days, she had fallen in love with Orsino herself. Chapter 2, Fools and Lovers. Olivia's house was in uproar. Her uncle, Sir Toby, had been making merry all night with his friends, Sir Andrew and Feste the jester. "Olivia is very cross with you all," warned Maria, the maid. "Look out! Here she comes with Marvaglio, that snobby steward of hers." "Greetings, lady," said Feste, but Olivia was in no mood for her jester. "Take away the fool," she sighed. "Yes, take her away," cried Feste boldly, pointing at Olivia. "I said take away the fool," snapped Olivia. "So did I," said Feste. "Let me explain. Why do you mourn, lady? For my brother's death, for... Is he in hell, lady? No, he is in heaven, for... The more for you, the more to mourn for your brother being in heaven." Despite herself, Olivia smiled. Marvaglio sniffed disapprovingly. There was a knock at the door, and Marvaglio went to answer it. It was Viola, dressed as Cesario. She bowed to Olivia. "Fair lady, Orsino's heart is like a book." Yes, I've read it," yawned Olivia. "He loves me." With sonorous groans and sigh of fire, insisted Viola. "But I don't love him," Olivia interrupted, shrugging. "If I were Orsino, I wouldn't give up so easily," said Viola. "Why, what would you do?" Olivia asked. "I'd build a willow cabin at your gate and call upon you every day. I'd sing sad love songs all night and cry out your name. Oh, you'd have no rest until you pitied me." Olivia gazed dreamingly at the messenger's pretty face. "Tell Orsino I cannot love him, and then come back, or tell me how he takes it," she added hastily. After Cesario had left, Olivia couldn't stop thinking about him. "Am I falling in love?" she wondered. Viola, for her part, was worrying about Olivia. "Poor lady, I think she's fallen for my disguise, where my master adores her, and I love him. What will become of this? Oh, time, you must untangle this. Not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie." Back at Orsino's house, the talk was all about love. "I've been in love too," Viola said. Viola told the Duke. "What was your loved one like?" he asked. Viola blushed. "Very like you," she blurted. Orsino laughed. "If only Olivia shared your taste. But women don't feel things as strongly as us men." "That's not true," said Viola hotly. "My father's daughter loved a man, but couldn't tell him, and her feelings ate away at her like a worm in the bud." The Duke listened thoughtfully. "This boy really understands love," he told himself. "If only I could find a girl like him." Chapter 3. Making Mischief. Later that night, Sir Toby and Sir Andrew were in a very jolly mood. They shouted for Maria to bring Air and Feste to play a song. Soon they were singing loudly and not very tunefully. "Three merry men be we." "Are you crazy?" came an angry voice. It was Marvaglio in his nightgown. "Do you know how late it is?" "You can't stop us," snorted Toby. "Do you think because you're virtuous there shall be no more cakes and air?" I'll tell Lady Olivia about this," snarled Marvaglio, stalking off. Toby shook a fist after him. Maria laid a hand on Toby's arm. "I know how to pay Marvaglio back. I'll fake a love letter from Olivia and let him find it. He is so vain he'll think she's in love with him." The next morning, Maria, Toby, and Feste hid behind a bush to watch Marvaglio. Marvaglio was thinking aloud. "I know Olivia admires me," he muttered. If she married me, I'd be far richer than Toby. There, rogue, spluttered Toby. But what's this? Went on Malvolio, spotting the letter. He began to read, To my beloved M. I am in love. If you are reading this, don't be afraid. I may be your lady, but when we are married, you will be my lord. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. So be proud and put on airs and graces, and don't forget to wear your yellow stockings and cross garters. You know I adore them. My lady, exclaimed Malvolio, kissing the letter. He was so excited he didn't hear the giggles coming from the bush. A loud rat-a-tat sounded on the front door. Hello, is anyone there? It was Viola. Cesario, is that you? Olivia heard the voice and came running. Viola bowed. Dear lady, I come to tell you of Ursina's love. Stop! I don't want to hear about him. You see, I've realized I am in love with you, Cesario. Viola shook her head. I swear I'll never marry a woman. Think about it anyway, begged Olivia, and please come back soon. Chapter 4. Another Survivor. Down by the seashore, 2 men were talking. One was a young sailor named Antonio, and the other was the double of Cesario. It was Viola's twin brother, Sebastian. I owe you my life, Sebastian was saying. If your ship hadn't found me, I'm glad to have helped you, replied Antonio. And I'd come with you now to see the town, but I must stay out of sight. My city is at war with Duke Ursino, and I'll be arrested if I'm found here. The sailor pulled out a jingling bag. Here, take my purse in case you need money. You can give it back to me tonight at our inn. Sebastian hesitated, then accepted gratefully. Until tonight, he called as he set off. Olivia was thinking sadly about Cesario when Malvolio came in. Sweet lady, ho ho, he simpered. He waggled a yellow stocking, cross-gartered leg at her. Malvolio, what's the matter with you? Gasped Olivia. Why, nothing, he answered. These garters are a bit tight, but it doesn't matter if you like them. This is very midsummer madness. Then he tried to kiss Olivia's hand. Olivia snatched it away and ran out of the room, straight into Maria, Toby, and Festi, who had been listening at the door. Go and look after Malvolio, she told them. He needs help. The 3 plotters nodded, doing their best to look serious. We'll send for the doctor, and until he arrives, we'll lock Malvolio in a dark room, promised Toby, his eyes glinting, for his own safety, of course. But one prank wasn't enough for Sir Toby. He and Festi were soon plotting another, a duel between Sir Andrew and Cesario. It should be quite a sight, chuckled Toby. The 2 most timid men in Illyria. Toby went to find Cesario. Look out for Sir Andrew, he warned. He wants to fight a duel with you. He's already killed 3 men. Viola turned a pair. Festi, meanwhile, was talking to Sir Andrew. Cesario can't wait to fight you, said Festi. He's very skillful with a sword. Sir Andrew trembled. Toby and Festi were pushing the reluctant fighters at each other. Then when the sailor, Antonio, walked past, as soon as he saw Viola, he drew his sword and leaped to defend her. If this young man has offended you, I will answer for it. All the noise brought two officers running. They grabbed Antonio. You're under arrest, they shouted before he was led away. Antonio turned to Viola. I'm sorry, my friend, but I'll need my purse back. What purse? Said Viola. I can't lend you some money, but... You refuse? After all I've done for you? Cried Antonio. What? I've never seen you before in my life, exclaimed Viola. The officers dragged Antonio away, leaving Viola puzzling over his words. Could it mean, is Sebastian still alive? Oh, if it proved true, tempests are kind and salt waves full of love. Chapter 5. More mix-ups. Sebastian wasn't finding the town quite as he'd expected. Strangers kept acting as if they knew him. So your name isn't Cesario? Laughed a jester. No. And I'm not 50, and this isn't my nose. Look, here's a coin, said Sebastian at last. Now go away. But no sooner had one man left than two more appeared, Sir Toby and Sir Andrew. Cesario, squealed Sir Andrew. There's for you! And he ran at Sebastian, his fist flailing. Bewildered, Sebastian was forced to defend himself. There's for you! And there, he cried, beating Sir Andrew back. Then Toby joined the fight. Are all the people mad? Stop! Olivia was flying towards them. Are you hurt? She begged Sebastian, who shook his head wordlessly. Toby, Andrew, out of my sight, she ordered. Then she held out her hand. Dear Cesario, let me take you home. Sebastian blinked in confusion. Maybe I'm crazy, he thought, or maybe this is a dream. But Olivia was so beautiful and so determined to help. He decided it must be all right. I'll come, he agreed. If it be thus to dream, still let me sleep. Since Olivia had stopped his fun, Sir Toby went to visit Marvalio. His old enemy was locked up in the cellar, and Festi was taunting him. What ho! Festi called out in a strange, gruff voice. I am Dr. Topaz, come to visit Marvalio the lunatic. Toby stifled his laughter. Dr. Topaz, I'm not a lunatic, pleaded Marvalio through the door. I've been tricked and locked up here in darkness. There is no darkness but ignorance, the doctor replied solemnly. You had better stay there until you see the light. Then Festi began to sing in his own voice. Hey, Robin, jolly Robin. Four, cried Marvalio. Is that you? Please bring me a pen and paper so I can write to Olivia. Sir Toby sighed. Maybe we should let him write. He told Festi, I don't want to get into more trouble with Olivia. Back upstairs, alone in Olivia's rooms, Sebastian pinched himself. Sebastian pinched himself. He could hardly believe it. Olivia was very beautiful and obviously a great lady, but they had only just met and already she wanted to marry him. What should I do? Wondered Sebastian. I wish I could ask Antonio, but I can't find him anywhere. Now Olivia was coming back with a loving smile. The priest is ready to marry us, she said softly. Sebastian looked into her shining eyes, drew a deep breath, and decided, I'll do it. I'll follow this good man and go with you, and having sworn truth ever will be true. Chapter 6 Happy Ever After. A few hours later, Duke Orsino and Viola was going to see Olivia outside her house. They bumped into the officers leading Antonio. That's the man who helped me when I was attacked, cried Viola. The Duke frowned. I recognize him. He's an enemy of Olivia. He turned to Antonio. What brings you here? That boy at your side, replied Antonio bitterly. I rescued him from the sea and risked my life to help him. We came ashore yesterday and I lent him my purse. But as soon as I was arrested, he pretended not to know me. Orsino shook his head. You're crazy, he said curtly. This boy has been in my service since long before yesterday. Dear Cesario, I left for a moment and you wandered off, cried Olivia, dashing out of the house. She tried to fling her arms around Viola, who dodged behind Orsino. I am Orsino's servant, my lady, not yours. But you are my husband, Viola wailed. Your place is with me, not Orsino. Orsino's face darkened. Husband? He growled. No, not me, pleaded Viola. Don't be afraid, whispered Olivia. The priest will vouch for us. It's true, nodded the old priest when he came. They swore everlasting love and exchanged rings just 2 hours ago. The Duke looked horrified. I thought you loved me, but you lied, he told his serving boy. Go, I never want to see you again. My lord, no, gasped Viola. Before she could finish, there was a shriek and Sir Andrew appeared. A doctor! Fetch a doctor! That maniac Cesario has attacked Toby! Eek! Here he is! He stared. But, stammered Viola. Sebastian came running after Sir Andrew and knelt before Olivia. Forgive me, love, for fighting your uncle, he said. I was defending myself and he isn't badly hurt. Why are you staring at me like that? 2 of them? Exclaimed the Duke, looking from twin to twin. Most wonderful, sighed Olivia. Sebastian, is that you? Cried Antonio. Antonio, Sebastian grinned at his friend. I've been so worried. Antonio pointed at Viola. So who are you? Only now did Sebastian turn and see the strangely familiar figure. He stared in wonder. I never had a brother, he said slowly, but I had a sister who was lost at sea. Viola smiled. I had a brother who looked just like you. I thought he was lost too. If you were a woman, I'd say welcome, Viola. Viola pulled off her cap and let her curls tumble down. With a shout of joy, Sebastian hugged her. Then he turned to Olivia. I may not be who you thought, he said, but it seems to have worked out for the best. Yes, definitely, laughed Olivia, taking his hand. Orsino turned to Viola. You once told me you loved me. Yes, breathed Viola. For my part, I longed to find a girl like you, and now I have. Viola, will you marry me? Oh, yes, cried Viola, bursting with happiness as she clasped Orsino's hand. Now you shall be your master's mistress. A double wedding party, said Olivia happily. We should start planning the celebrations. Marvalio can... but he's our fisticuffed. Actually, he's much better and since you this. Olivia unfolded the paper Festi handed her. Madame, you wrong me. I am not crazy. I was only following your letter. Marvalio. Bring him here at once, she said. Marvario came looking pale and angry. He waved the love letter. Madame, why did you send me this? I never wrote that, said Olivia, startled. That's not my writing. It's Maria's. Don't blame Maria. But in Festy quickly, Toby and I are just as much at fault. But we shouldn't let hors d'oeuvres spoil the happy hour. We have 3 weddings to celebrate, for Toby and Maria are getting married too. Indeed, we should make peace, said the Duke, and to prove it, I forgive Antonio. Now let's go and plan the celebrations. Talking excitedly, they all trooped into Olivia's house until only Festy was left. When he was alone, he began to sing. A great while ago, the world began with a hey-ho, the wind and the rain. But that's our play is done, and we'll strive to please you every day. Then, with a bow, he followed the others into the house. The end. William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, England, and became famous as an actor and writer when he moved to London. He wrote many poems and almost 40 plays, which are still performed and enjoyed today. The end.